Hi everybody and welcome to Push Your Luck Podcast video review number 3. Now in this review we'll be looking at a new Essen 2013 release from Ludonaut called Lewis and Clark. Now it's by designer Cedric Cheboussit and the art is by Bonson Dutre. The artist also did other artwork for board games like Augustus. So as you can see from the box itself already, the art is really very nice and the rest of the board will be the same. So what is the game about? Let's take a look at the game, the gameplay, and our thoughts. This is based on the Lewis and Clark expedition, which was done in 1804 and 1806. For those of you who are not familiar with the history, on April 30th, 1803, the United States of America purchased the Louisiana Territory from Napoleon for $15 million. So Thomas Jefferson, the president then, decided to send 2 adventurers to explore this huge land. Alright, the Lewis and Clark expedition lasting from 1804 to 1806 was the first American expedition to cross what is now the western portion of the United States. Okay, so the game wants us to pretend. Let's imagine that Thomas Jefferson did not send only one expedition but send multiple expeditions. So players will play one of these expeditions and try to cross the North American continent to try to reach the Pacific. So the first player who can, these are scouts and these are camps. Alright, the first player who can set up camp here at Fort Quetzal will win the game. Alright, so that's the gist of the game. So yes, it is a racing game. Right, players are trying to race through this track, right, through the rivers and through the mountains and try to reach here the first. Okay, but it is not just a racing game. There is a deck building element. Surprise, surprise, there's a deck building element in this game. Now, as mentioned in my previous review of Rococo, it seems that some of the Euro-style games nowadays seems to be adding meshing quite unique mechanisms together. And this is one of those where it meshes the deck building, a deck building game plus a racing game. So this is one of those combinations I have not yet seen, and I'm quite surprised by it. Okay. So let's take a look at the board and what are the various components. Now, these hexagonal tiles, wooden tiles, alright, wooden bits actually. These are the resources. Alright, so there's 4 primary resources: the fur, the toolkit, alright, the food, and the wood. Okay, these are sort of like secondary resources. You can't get them as easily as the 4. Alright, this is a canoe. Right, and these are horses. Now, canoes primarily help you to move across the river spaces faster. Alright, and the horses are primarily used to move across the mountains faster. Okay, these are your scouts. Now, each player will have 1 scout and 1 camp. The scout is used to move. It's the primary way you're racing. Alright, racing through the tracks. Okay, where you stop, you can take a set up camp action, which I'll explain later, and then you can set your camp wherever your scout has finally stopped. Okay, there's a reason for that. I'll explain later. Okay, so this is the tableau, cards that are available for you to hire. All right, you can hire characters here later on. So this is the deck building aspect of the game. Now we'll look at your player board. Okay, this is a player board. Each player starts with 1 food, 1 fur, and 1 toolkit, or 1 toolbox. Alright, and each player will also start with 1 Indian meeple here. Okay, this player board allows you to store your resources as well as storing Indians. Okay, each player will also have a set of 6 cards. Now, each of these cards, the basic action is on this side, the left hand side. Okay. Each player will have exactly the same basic actions, but the characters will be different. Apparently, the characters are also historically accurate, and you can read about them, alright, at the back of the rulebook, where it includes the history of the game, alright, as well as the different characters and any historical footnotes of these characters, which is quite cool. Yeah, you get to learn about the history, the actual history, and play the game at the same time. So, how do you play the game? Now, players will have during a turn. Right, this is a turn based, so it just keeps going round and round and round. Whoever is the first to reach, set up camp at the Fort Quetzal will immediately win the game and end the game. Alright, so players, during your turn, you will have one compulsory action that you need to do, and 2 optional actions that you can do on top of your compulsory actions. So let's talk about the compulsory action first. Okay, the first thing you need to do is either you take one of your Indian meeples from your board and put it onto the main board itself. Right, by putting onto main board, you get certain abilities. Now, this spaces on top here will give you resources. Okay, this space here will allow you to convert 2 wood into 1 canoe to get canoes. Okay, this space here will allow you to get horses. This will allow you to throw away 3 cards to clean the whole market here, and then refill it with 5 more new cards. So this is your deck trimming action here. Okay, this will allow you to trade in 3 wood to get 1 special tile. Alright, so these are the special tiles here. Now these special tiles allow you to add more space to your expedition. Alright, you can put more Indians here and put more resources here. This means that you'll get 1 Indian for free, 2 basic resources for free. You got 1 space for Indian, 2 spaces for resources here. This means that during the setup camp, you will not be penalized for anything you put here. Alright, now you can also choose to put in the other side, alright, which will give you more spaces but will have a time penalty. These time penalties will come into play later when you choose the setup camp action. Okay, what is the other mandatory action you can do? The other mandatory action you can do is to play cards from your hand. Now, cards played from hand are in 3 different combinations that you can play. First, you play it in this manner. So 1 card is turned the other side, the other card is turned face up. So you are actually doing this action right now using this power. So what does this mean? This means that you'll be using 1 Indian to activate this power 1 time. Alright, this is what the Indian means. So Indian meeples will determine, when you place them, will determine how many of that particular action you want to do. You can also play the card by itself and then play an Indian meeple with it. So it's the same as playing this way. So it means that you have 1 action of this. Okay, you can also do it in a combination together, right, in this way. So you're playing, now if I do it this way, you're doing 2 actions of this. Okay, players can do this up to a maximum of 3. Alright, so the last, take note that there are certain areas where you can only place 1 Indian meeple there, and some you can do more. So for those that are in a complete circle, you can only place 1 Indian meeple there. For those that are a semicircle, you can place up as many Indians as can occupy that space. However, during 1 turn, you can only put 1, 2, 3 Indians on that space. Alright, so for example, for this to change wood to canoe, you can put 1 to 3 meeples during your turn to change up to 1 to 3 canoes. Okay, so that's what this means. Now the last 2 actions you can do is called recruit a new character and set up camp. These 2 actions can be done before or after your mandatory compulsory action. So what does recruit a new character means? You look at the market, you see that each of them has a number here and a fur on top. This means that to recruit this particular character, you need to pay 1 fur and 2 kits. Alright, then you'll be able to recruit this character. Recruited characters will go straight into your hand and can be used immediately. Right? Once whenever recruit character goes, when you recruit a character, right, the market will fill up automatically. Okay, so that's what recruiting a character means. Okay, secondly, set up camp. Set up camp means you have decided to stop. Alright, you have decided to move your camp up to where your scout is. So for example, my scout has traveled this amount of distance. To set up camp is quite interesting because you need to calculate. Alright, means that you need to see how many resources you have that are occupying the rest of the expeditions. For example, if I have these 2 resources here, right, I'll incur a 1 time penalty. If I have more than 1 Indian here, for every Indian on this spot here, I'll incur 1 time penalty each. Okay, any remaining cards in my hand that are not played, they also will incur 1 time penalty. So based on how much time penalty you have, you will have to move your scout back a number of spaces. Alright, and that's the final space where you rest is where you put your camp, and that's where your camp is. Now take note that there are some interesting tactics here, because if for example your scout can move if you set up camp now, for example, your camp will never move backwards. Alright, that means you'll never retreat back depending on the time penalty. But your scout can still move backwards, which means that you can find yourself in this situation, and then you need to try to boost your scout up again to go past your camp before you set up camp again. Okay, so in a nutshell, that's the gist of the game. So what makes this game interesting? Alright, let's take a look. First and foremost, there seems to be two strategies that you can attempt to do. Either you start to race, as in you start to play cards to start to move your scout up, or you can store up power and then try to do those one-time move 18 spaces type of strategy. Alright, our gaming group likes to call it a Cobra strike, where from here we can jump all the way to here. So we have played a few games where a few players will be storing power here. They'll be trying to get the best cards they can do, so that they can then play it and one time move 18 spaces or move up to here. Alright, so that's one very interesting thing about the game, that it's not just a one strategy type of game. The other strategies you can think of will be the grouping, the hopping over people mechanism. So apparently in the game, there's a rule where when you're moving your meeples, let's say you're moving now, right? When you're moving, you will count the spaces where there are meeples. However, when you stop there, right, you cannot stop in the same place with another scout, right? Which means that in this case, as you're moving forward, if you stop here, you can actually jump over and land here. Okay, so it gives you a extra, like a 2-space benefit. If you are forced to go backwards though, wherever you end, you need to end backwards again. Alright, so that is also you need to be aware of this as well. Now the interesting thing about this mechanism is that, for example, let's say I have only played river movements. When I come to here, alright, let's say I played one more river movement, I'm supposed to end here. But because I cannot be in the same space as another meeple and another scout, I actually gain one more space here and come into the mountain. So the next time I play my cards, I'll start in the mountain area already. So that's one strategy you can think of. Right? The other very fun part for me, especially for this game, is the deck building element. Right? So managing the cards that you can buy, right? Because these cards, there are some cards which will give you more Indians than usually you have, right? Most of the cards you have right now at the beginning, right, it's only give you 1 Indian, right? There's only one that gives you 2 Indian, which is the powwow card. Now the powwow card is special because it allows you to take Indians from the board, take as many Indians as you want and put it into your play area. So that's the powwow card. Okay, when you do a powwow, you also need to throw away the last card from the market, right, and refill it again. So some of these cards later on you need to decide when to buy them. Either you buy them for the power, which will usually allow you to get more resources, or clean up your throw away your cards that you start off with because they are more efficient, or move further. Alright, or you can actually buy the cards for the number of Indians they have, because they will allow you to do more of actions that you need, right, which will make things more efficient for you. At the same time, for example, if you cannot buy the card, or if you want to throw away cards because you want to trim your deck, you can actually trade in one card to reduce the number of tools that you need to buy the card. So for example, if I had this, and all the cards will have one symbol behind, right, which will show you how many of these discount that you get when you hire a character. Okay, so this is a very interesting part. Finally, for the deck building, right, the actions are also quite fun, right, quite exciting, because these actions, when you get resources, right, typically these arrows will mean that you need to look at your neighbors on your left and on the right, right, for each of this symbol, which is this one, that you find on their cards and yours, you will get that number of fur. So for example, if my neighbors had I count my neighbors, and in total there's 3 of these symbols, right? So for each time I activate this action, I'll get 3 fur. If I do it twice, I'll get 6 fur. Now you can get up to 6 fur, so you do not need to get the full 6 fur, because you know that if I get too many and I cannot use them during the setup camp phase, I will have a lot of penalties for time, which will mean that my setup camp will probably be not as advantageous for me. Right, so this is one thing you need to balance: how much resources you want to get, when to play your cards, the sequence you play your cards, look at your neighbors and see how to get when should I play my cards to get the most benefit, right? To get the most resources that I can get from them and basically leech off them. So the deck building element is very integral, a very crucial part of the game, and it is so well woven into the game itself that it doesn't seem disconnected. It doesn't really seem as a disconnect. All right, you are mainly focusing on this or getting most Indians and using them. So there is a possibility if you manage your cards properly and buying more characters to store up power, like what some of my friends did. All right, then using a clever play of cards, boost yourself up there. I haven't seen someone try getting from here to the end. All right, it might be possible, but I haven't seen anyone doing that yet. Knowing when to get these tiles is also quite important because they give you more flexibility. You can store more resources or get more Indians. Okay, take note that once the Indian meeples are used up, there's a limited number. Once the Indian meeples are used up, alright, that means the other players have not used their Indian meeples yet. They're still on their own expeditions. You cannot get any more Indian meeples. Alright, so knowing when to do a powwow to get the Indian meeples is also quite important because they do lend you some flexibility. Alright, for example, let's say I did not have the right cards to play. I want to do this twice. I can put one Indian meeple there and get more resources. So some of the cards give you better movement. For example, this one, you trade in 4 different type of resources, you get to move 4 mountain spaces. So typically, the only movement card that you have right at the beginning is this one, where you one foot or will move 2 water spaces, one canoe move 4 water spaces, one horse move 2 mountain spaces. So there will be cards later on that allow you to do more flexibility and more movement spaces. In the game as well, they even provide you with additional water and mountain tiles which you can use to customize this track, right, to make more to have more replayability and maybe make it more challenging for yourself. There's also a solo variant where you'll be playing against one dummy player and the dummy player will always move 1 step whenever you play an action. So it's a race against time to see how fast you can move yourself all the way to the set up your camp at Fort Capsule before this dummy player reaches Fort Capsule itself. Alright, so I haven't played the solo yet, but judging from how we are playing, it should be quite a good tutorial on how to play the game and also train you to be the most efficient that you can be. Alright, so I'm not very sure whether this store power strategy and to do a final Cobra Strike will work against in a solo game, but maybe I'll have a chance to try. Okay, now this is a copy from my friend, right, who went to Essen. So during Essen, they also gave them these stickers, right, to stick on. Okay, so there's really a lot of stickers for him to stick on. Right, it's quite horrible. Okay, but I'm not sure whether when you buy the actual game itself will they come out with these stickers. They also gave them a set of new cards. Alright, because apparently the cards that you currently have in the game is very thin, it's quite flimsy. It's okay. I mean, it probably can. We did not sleeve this year, or at least my friend did not sleeve this year. Okay, if I get my own copy, I'll definitely will want to sleeve the card. But it's nice that they actually gave one whole set of new cards. I'm not very sure if this will come in the retail copy or not. Okay, I think the game right now is for sale, and you can definitely get it. Alright, it is a very fun game. I mean, it's great to look at. It plays 1 to 5. Alright, but I would not recommend playing 5 because we played 5 and we took about 3 hours to do it. It's quite a painful thing to play unless all of us are experienced players and you can play 5. Okay, I think 3 or 4 is a very nice number. We played 3 and it went by quite fast. But I think 3 to 4 will be. I think 2 to 4 will be quite okay. Right, I'll try the solo game and we'll see how it goes. But I think it will play largely the same. So this is our video review of Lewis and Clark. This is a game I'll heartily recommend to anyone. The seamless blending of the deck building element and the racing element really shines. Alright, it is exciting. You are tense. You're wondering whether you can reach the end first before your opponents do. And I don't really play a lot of racing games because most of the time the leaders will probably be so far ahead that I cannot catch up. But in Lewis and Clark, you don't feel that way. There's always, of course, if you did a lot of mistakes, you drafted the cards, you bought the wrong cards and so on and so forth, then it's very unlikely that you can catch up with the leaders. But it seems that most of the games that you play, we were quite close to the leaders. We are maybe only 1 or 2 sets behind them winning. Alright, we can even sometimes beat them and win the game. Alright, there's different strategies to try. Okay, although there's not many complaints I have about the game. I mean, you need to balance how many resources to get, how many Indian meeples to get, what cards to draft. All this make for a very close, very tight, and very fun game. So this is Lewis and Clark. If there's something that's up your alley, do check it out.